Today I want to talk about tolerance and mention some stuff about puts and options. There was somebody that left me a comment. I don't know if he or she, if it's a he or a she, but BP asked me to talk about shorting stocks, puts and options a little bit. So, but all you can do is just go to YouTube or Google and search how to do it, and you'll get their take depending on what you're looking for on how to walk through opening up a put contract, which is mean you're basically playing it. It's going down. It's going to go down. So I'm just going to talk about that. But before I do, I want to talk about tolerance really because it's kind of important. So as Netflix, which jumped up 13 something percent before the earnings report, and where Tesla dropped about 6-7%, I think, almost 8%. That there is a chance that it can go either direction, right? Every time you get into a stock. So if you're not an investor, and what I mean by investor is somebody says, I don't care about whatever's happening today or tomorrow, next week or next month, because I'm in this for 10 years or 5 years or whatever it is. So you're not really looking at all the volatility in the meantime. Now, the other people that are day trading or possibly swing trading like myself, a portion of the money that I have, the swing trading stuff, I do days or weeks generally, and I'm looking for the volatility in between the ups and downs of what's happening, and I'm trying to base my entry point, whether I'm shorting the stock, which is I'm not really one to short stocks, but if I'm putting a put contract, if I'm executing a put contract, or if I'm doing a long call or just holding some shares of the company, I'm basing it on probabilities and information and things that I've gathered, my own due diligence to say I think it's going up or down, and then I'm patient. And if I'm wrong, I got to take the loss. I got to take the L. But if I'm right, I want to take the profit, and that's what I kind of want to talk about. And I'm going to use Tesla and Netflix as just an example or an illustration, and I'm going to tie in the put stuff for BP in this video. So Tesla and the Robinhood account, I have over 100 shares. I have actually 130. And the other 30 shares are basically just for me waiting for the next little pop. And then I'm going to exit that. But the other 100, I'm anticipating a drop potentially at around 180, it seems like. And that's the going conversation because it's previous support. It's probably, potentially, maybe, where it's going to go. Now, it could hold up, right? It could surprise you, and it could shoot up to 230 to 250. I don't know, right? But you got to have to, whatever it is, right? You got to have a play, you got to make a play or not, or just stay out of it. So for me, I'm like, I'll get rid of the 30 shares that I have, keep the other 100. Maybe I'll average, down as it drops. But that's not my investment account. If I have several hundred shares of Tesla in another account, I'm looking at that 5-10 year thing, right? Because I think over time with the trucks and solar stuff and all the things that Tesla are going on, Shanghai factories, the cost reductions, I think Tesla's a good long-term play. And I don't care about the in-between. Short-term wise, whether it's days or weeks or months, I'm expecting the stock to pull back, especially with the recession stuff, on the horizon coming up. It's like looking ahead and seeing dark clouds coming, like really bad ones. You're like, oof, that looks like a nasty storm. So I'm not expecting Tesla to shoot up to 230 to 250. And if it does, I don't think it'll stay up very long. It's just my opinion. So a lot of people, though, are going to be shorting the stock and doing put contracts. But if you're putting money in that you necessarily can't afford to lose, that's your tolerance, where you're like, my mortgage or my rent isn't dependent if this works out for me this week. My me eating right today is not dependent on if my plays from a few days ago work out by the end of day today, because a lot of people sell off their shares going into the weekend, and it's just something that's very common that happens. So I would encourage you to just consider that, not for the veteran traders or the veteran investors, but this conversation where I am very aware that Tesla could potentially drop to 180 today, next week, and if my cost average is 230, right, that's a $50, $30, $40, $50 under what my cost average is. So for every one share I own, I'm losing 30, 40, 50 bucks. You multiply that times, 100 shares, that's $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Now, if I needed that money, I'm like, I gotta sell. Or if I was over leveraged and the platform that you're trading on makes you sell some shares because they're like, oh, you're over leveraged, you either got to add money or you have to sell some shares, then you have no choice. So you get backed in the corner. So, you got to be careful whether you have $100, $1,000, $10,000, $100,000, whatever that money is, because you can get pushed out. The Netflix thing that jumped up 13%, where I saw it go up because they did really well. They added, I think, 2.4 million subscribers. I'm just going off the top of my head. I don't have a script here or anything, but if that's the case, whatever, and they're saying they're going to double it again, that's great. But it still looked overbought. And if I was going to buy a contract, an option, this is a chance where if you're not shorting, which I talked about last video, so I'm not going to get into that. It's kind of the same thing. And like Robinhood, I don't think you can short as far as I know, but you can buy a put. And you can buy or sell a put contract. You can do a put debit spread or a put credit spread. You can do an iron condor, straddle, all those different things that come. But again, you can find out everything you need to know about doing that, how to watch somebody actually execute. I'm not going to do that. But what I have done is said, okay, I think that Netflix is overbought. It's at 175, 179. I think it's going to come back down into the 160s. I said that yesterday, again, I'm not trying to be right. There's no like, I told you. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I kind of figured that probably maybe it was going to go down in the 260s, okay? Because it's got to kind of correct it a little bit because it's too much FOMO and people getting in on that. So when it does correct, there's a chance for you to make money on its way down. So if you're not shorting the stock itself, then you're going to put a put contract in. So if you're buying a put, then you're going to say the strike price is 270 bucks, and you might say I'm going to buy the 260. So whatever platform you're using, if you buy 260, there's an expiration date either today or next Friday or 2 years from now, right? Whatever they allow you, whatever they give you as an option to say, I think it's going to go down and I'm willing to pay this premium to say in this time frame, it's going to go from 270 to 260, for example. So if it works out, then if you paid, if it cost you $200 or $2,000 or whatever that number might be, then that is your risk. So if it doesn't hit, if it stays above that target, then you're going to lose that $200 debit that you paid, or that $2,000 or whatever the number is, saying that I think it's going below 260. It's got to go to at least 260 or below to pay. If it was call, right, then you're going the opposite way. Pretty easy. So if I buy a put, I'm basically I'm going to get debited the money, whatever they're charging, that it's going to hit that number before the expiration date. If I am going to sell a put, right, then I'm saying that if it goes from 179, we'll say, 279, and I'm like, hey, I'm buying it at 260, right? So if it hits 260, I have to have enough money to cover the cost of 100 shares of Netflix in this example. So I'd have to have $26,000, I believe, right, to be able to buy 100 shares if it was 260, because 260 times 100 is 26,000, I believe. So if it's at 270, and and it doesn't hit 260, or if it's at 280 or 300, whatever the number is, and I'm like, I'll buy it at 260, then I would collect, instead of get debited, a premium at a certain amount. It could be $1, it could be $10, it could be $100, it could be $1,000, and so on and so forth. If they said, okay, if it does go to $26, you have to buy those shares. Anything below, if it drops to 200, you're still going to buy it at 26. So the value of your stocks, your cost per share, you're going to own it for 26 per share. That's happened to me before. It happened to me on Coinbase, where it hit 90. I said 90, and it went all the way down to like 70, or went to 60 at one point. And I had to buy it at 90. So, but I got out of that, and I actually made money. But I got lucky. But it doesn't always work that way. So that's a risk. If you said, okay, I'm willing to buy Netflix for $260 a share, 100 shares. Now you'll collect that premium, whatever it is, and you won't lose it, and you can, kind of calculate that towards your cost average. But I always separate it. So I have working capital in the account that says your buying power. It could be $1 or $1 million. It doesn't matter. And then you have your account value, which means whatever the stocks that you're trading, or cryptocurrencies if you're doing both, it'll say this is the value of that right now. That's just how it works with having a put contract, an option. It's that simple. So I don't want to over-explain this. I hope that helps a little bit. I can go further into it, but again, I don't really want to show a bunch of charts and walkthrough, because you can get this information anywhere. Very easy. It's just me just talking about it, and I'm happy to do it with you. If you really want me to do one, I'm happy to actually do one. Not because I have an expert walkthrough, but I can say here's how I do it, but it's really just as simple as I just explained. But be careful with the money you're putting in there, guys, especially if you're newer to this, new trader and investor. All right, have a good weekend. See you guys later.